What happens when you put 3 schools, 3 teachers, and 3 educational experts in one programme? What happens? You'll learn how to invest time to save time. Coming up, Jane Dixon brings a common sense approach to the table.
Meetings, first of all, what is the purpose of any meeting? And that's a key thing for us to know. I know, you know, your time is precious.
Whereas Nick Packard goes for the more technical approach.
You could sit down and you could type it out. It could take you forever. You could sit down and you could record yourself talking about it.
But first, our thinking skills expert Lisa Cooks come to Macclesfield High School for a meeting about meetings with Dave Dolman, a PE teacher and Key Stage 3 learning manager.
So what is it that you feel is really key to having a good meeting?
I think the results from the meeting, personally. I mean, I want to run a meeting that's we get something out of and the staff use, rather than just doing it for the sake of a tick box to say we've had a meeting, there's the minutes and we go on.
Yeah. So you want to be able to, when you get to the end, say, right, this is what we've achieved, these are the things that people are going off to do, and this is when we're meeting again.
Yeah. We have an agenda, but it is just taken off. And we go places where no one had planned going. I mean, the other thing is it sometimes turns negative and it becomes a moaning store, and I don't want that. I just want to, we want to find solutions rather than just sit there and have a session where we can play.
Yeah, we can be very good at that as teachers, can't we? Yeah. Sitting down saying what's wrong. So sometimes it's shaping how they get the opportunity to say their negative things, because they need to get them out there. It's almost like dumping what they think about things. So one of the strategies you could use is a PMI, using one of Edward de Bono's ideas, plus, minus and interesting. You can do it in a pair, so they get their chance to say what the negative bits are, but they only get a very short window of time to do it. And then it gets collated, so you very quickly get the views of everybody, but nobody gets to dominate with the negative bit.
I know it sounds stupid, but that's dead simple, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I just suddenly think, why haven't I done that? I mean, you do that in your staff training, and you do that in your inset, but of a meeting, I'd have just never thought about doing it. But
it's sometimes it's having the experience of having to sit and think, they've got to stop talking, and it's just drawing ideas from different places. I mean, the PMIs and Edward de Bono's ideas aren't anything new, are they?
No. I mean, it's from them. I mean, if I go in and say this is the idea, I'll get, we haven't discussed it. If I go in and say, this is what we want to do, how are we going to do it, I'll get, why are you asking us? It's not our job.
Yes.
So I've got to meet that in the middle.
And I think warning people that's what they're going to do before they come in. So yes, you have the agenda, but in order to meet that agenda item, we're going to do this. So they know. So it's not a great shock. They've had their chance to say whatever they think before they come into the room. And then do it. So the PMI is one way of structuring it. Another one of Edward de Bono's ideas are the 6 hats, which we use in teaching, can look very primary, but Edward de Bono came up with this plan for IBM. And it was a solution to meetings which were getting stuck in the negatives.
Right.
So if you did want to gather ideas on a particular strategy that you were going to try out, or trying to find a creative solution to a problem in school, this is a route through where everybody gets a chance to think about the different stages, but you control the timing of it.
Right.
So you start off with the red hat thinking and say, right, what's your initial gut response to this? So if they don't like it, they get the opportunity to say it there and then, but it's short, sharp time. Then go on and look at the positives of it. What would be the gains? Then the black hat is the health and safety aspects, the more critical aspects, and it's thinking not negatively, but thinking about what downsides might be, what are the cautions. Then moving on to the white hats, which are the facts. What are the facts of the situation? Let's get them here, let's get them out on the table. And then your green hats, your creative solutions. OK, we've had our chance to talk about this. How do we solve it? What can we do? And then the final blue hat thinking is bringing it all together. Now, if we were in a classroom, yes, we'd do the full pantomime of having the different hats on and taking students through it. But doing it in a meeting means that no one group get to dominate it. And that can take an hour's discussion.
I mean, that's great, and you can put that in. But again, it's a time thing for us, and the list we have to discuss, maybe it's time we do stop and step back and say, right, the agenda's too big. We're going to concentrate on this and we're going to do it properly. We seem to put everything we can into it. So, right, we need to cover attendance, we need to cover behaviour, we need to cover punctuality, detentions, whatever, homeworks. And then with an hour meeting, if you break it down, you've got a couple of minutes on everything. So maybe, yeah, maybe that is the way forward.
For copies of these resources and more of Lisa's ideas, log on to our website at www.teachers.tv. Next up, it's early years expert Jane Dixon, who's come to Lowercroft Primary in Bury to see Damien Lansdale, a deputy head who's unafraid to make his feelings about meetings quite clear.
I would say the most onerous side of my job is meetings. Being taken to meetings, dragged to meetings and forced to go to meetings, which quite often seem to have no real relevance or point.
Right, well actually that is a very common cry from many people. They would say that meetings are a waste of time. So what is it about a meeting that for you makes it a waste of time?
I think quite often when you turn up and it's been badly planned and the agenda seems to be absolutely all over the place, and then things can get worse if the poor agenda's not stuck to at all, it goes downhill. Also I think people getting off the point and talking about things that are completely irrelevant, but just wanting to say their little bit at the meeting,
right,
and wasting everybody's time for a good 5 minutes. And also when a meeting is just there to disseminate information, if all they're doing is throwing information at you, there's probably a better way to do it, I think, than making everyone attend and sit there for an hour or so.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, meetings, first of all, what is the purpose of any meeting? And that's a key thing for us to know. I think if you're attending meetings that are information only, you know, you could see I've got better things to do with my time. You just want the information, don't you? Mm-hmm. By the same token, you don't want to miss out because, you know, it could be relevant to you, your class or your school. So one thing I would suggest, make sure you've seen an agenda. Is it information giving or is it something that you're required to do? If it's important, then I suggest you attend it. If it's information giving, then I think you either need to make the decision that, you know, you're actually going to say no, which in teaching we find difficult, but justifying why you're doing it, because, you know, you've got other pressing things. So one thing that I had thought that you might try is getting yourself one or several meeting buddies who will actually be people with a common interest in your local area. And when the agenda's sent to you, you can look at it and think, oh, you know, actually I don't think I'm interested particularly in anything. This is just purely information. And ring or email your meeting buddy and ask him or her to attend on your behalf. And they would then communicate that information to you. And if you needed any further clarification, you could ring up and actually ask them, you know, what had gone on at the meeting. And then the next time you might actually go for them. And so it would actually cut down on the meetings without you actually feeling that you'd lost touch with what's going on.
I think that's a good idea. Anything that stops me having to go to all the meetings sounds marvellous. If I could just go to 50% and get somebody else to do the other 50. Yeah. That's quite nice. Quite often they give out things at the end of meetings to try to make you attend as well. So if you don't go, you miss all the free stuff at the end. Whereas if somebody else was there, they could sit there and then grab the gifts. If
you actually find yourself having to go to a meeting, one frustrating thing I find is that they very rarely start on time. Very often they're 10 minutes late and you think, if only I'd have known, you know, I could have been doing. So I would suggest two things. Either one, plan to network and look at the agenda. Sometimes it's actually quite useful to target somebody and think, I know they're going to be there. So rather than having to have called them in the week before, because you actually need to talk to them, if you see they're actually going to be attending the meeting, you could target that person and go and speak to them.
2 meetings for the price of one.
Exactly, 2 for the price of 1. So you're already in the meeting. So that's one thing to do. Another thing to do is take some low-level, you know, easy things that you can just be getting on with, you know, a couple of forms to fill in or a spelling test to start, or even if it's just 10 minutes and you get a couple of things done, at least you feel it's not been a complete waste if the agenda then turns out to be very disappointing and not something for you to engage in.
For copies of these resources and more of Jane's ideas, log on to our website at www.teachers.tv. Last but not least, it's Nick Packard. Our ICT specialist has come to Worth Primary in Cheshire to chat to Brenda Sigley, a Year 3 teacher and acting deputy head.
I do have to attend lots of meetings, but also chair meetings, and sometimes I'm not sure how much of an effective communicator I am, and I just really would like a little bit of help to make me become more effective.
When you're leading a meeting, do you think in terms of how you might present the relevant pieces of information to people in different ways? Is it one of the sort of is it a strategy that you would use in planning a meeting?
Thinking about the audience, that would be it. Yes, I think so, yes.
Would it be the sort of thing where you would ever consider actually not presenting a piece of paper but presenting a PowerPoint?
I wouldn't have the confidence at the moment, in all honesty. When we do class assemblies, you know, if we go out to trips and things, everybody has, they've all taken photographs, which I have done, and then put them onto the computer and then had like a slideshow going. And there are so many times that I would like to think, wow, I wish I could do that.
Do you know, there was an absolutely lovely, lovely, simple way of creating a slideshow of a bunch of photographs. Generally speaking, when you've downloaded your photographs, they automatically go into your My Documents folder in your My Pictures folder.
Yeah.
So that's probably what you will look for. So if you open that folder, just down the left-hand side here, you get these picture tasks. And one of them says, view a slideshow.
Yeah.
Click that. And it views it as a slideshow.
Oh, right.
And that is
so easy.
about as simple as it could be. This is a weird one. Have you ever thought of podcasting? I know you've heard of podcasting.
I have heard of it, yes.
Okay, well, it's just in terms of a communication one. You might have attended another meeting or a training course.
Yeah.
And what you actually want to do is you want to summarise some of the things that you've experienced at that. You could sit down and you could type it out. It could take you forever. You could sit down and you could record yourself talking about it. Most laptops have a built-in microphone. Start, all programs, accessories has got an entertainment sound recorder.
Yeah.
And as long as you've got a microphone, hit record, it starts recording you. Click stop, it's finished. And then save.
Right.
But if I let anybody else just double clicks and it will play back through their computer.
Play back through. If I'm able to do it within a couple of weeks, no problem at all. But then if like a couple of months passes by, I think, you know, I get into a bit of a panic then thinking, how on earth do I do this? And because, you know, everybody is so busy, you don't like to keep asking advice all the time.
I mean, there's a piece of software here that effectively takes a movie of what goes on the screen. And it's possible that you could persuade some of your more confident colleagues to actually do you like a little tutorial, a little help guide that's actually just them demonstrating it on the screen to you once, and they take a video of that. It records your voice, so you can even narrate over the top, so you can have little prompts about what we're doing and what we'd expect to see going on as part of that movie. You install a little bit of software that you can download from the internet. It's called Jing, and it comes from a company called TechSmith. But basically, Jing is just this little sunshine, half sunshine at the top. And as you hover the pointer over it, you get these three options. This one here is the capture option. And all I'm going to do is say, right, I want to capture something. I'm going to grab this bit of the screen here. And then it says, do you want to take a picture or do you want to shoot some video? I'm going to take a video. So I hit the video button and it counts me down. The microphone's on, so it's actually recording what I'm saying. So I can explain to you, okay, this is what you want to do if you want to run your very first PowerPoint. You do X, Y, and Z, and then when I finished explaining it, all I do is hit the stop button down here. Jing then shows me what I've just shown you, and I can play that back. All you've got to do when you've got this and it's finished is you save the file and you put that wherever you want to put it. You can give it a new name, and then when you go in to have a look at it later, you'll know where it is on the network and you just double-click the file to watch it. So there's no time and effort involved in helping you remember exactly what it was you were told.
For alternate screen grab programmes, copies of these resources and more of Nick's ideas, log on to our website at www.teachers.tv.
My top tip is, don't aim for perfection because you'll never achieve it. Aim for excellence instead. You must set a time limit to what you do and make sure that you stick to it.